Morning everyone, I hope you're staying safe, keeping yourself entertained. I know with the weather coming nice now it's really tempting to go fishing, but don't, simple as that. If we all stay in, this will be over soon, hopefully, and we can all get out and enjoy the summer. Right, on to today's video. I was asked to do a little video about mudline fishing here. They asked about when to do it, how to feed, and the rigs to use, so we're going to cover that. I'll do it in the three little parts. It'll all be the one video, but we'll cover each question on its own. First of all, for those that don't know, what is mudline fishing? Mudline fishing is it's on a snake lake really, or anywhere you can reach across to an island with a pole, and it's fishing in against the mud, as tight to the far bank as we can in hopefully shallow water. Deadly method in the summer. Fish want to be in shallow water to feed. That's why you catch down the edge or across or shallow. They like to be in the warmer layers when that's where they're comfortable to feed. That's where they want to be to feed. And fishing across, especially the early part of the match, you can catch there all day. But especially early when there's been disturbance, everyone's setting up in a match or pleasure session, the fish just push across and it's where they're most confident, so it's a great place to start. But like I say, on the right venues, right day, you can catch on it for 5 hours. So so that is mudline fishing. So on to the first part of the question, when to do it. Well, as soon as the weather starts to warm up really, as soon as there's a bit of colour in the water, the warmer it gets, the better it's going to get. I did catch on it the last match. I fished at Rookery, made the mistake, fished in 2.5 foot just off the island. Wasn't great, and I should have read the signs a little bit quicker. Went across the last 2 hours in 18 inches of water and caught a carp every chuck. As soon as it starts to warm up and there's a bit of colour and the fish are looking for feed, that is where they're gonna be looking for it. So yeah, the answer to that bit is as soon as it warms up a bit, there's a bit of colour so it's not clear over their heads in the shallow water, as soon as they're looking for feed. And so you could catch there in March if the conditions are right, and it will go till the end of September at a rough guess. If it stays warm, you could catch for another month on it. So that's the first part of it solved. On to rigs for the mudline. Really simple. I've got one on a pole top here behind me. I always use a short kit for fishing a mudline, just because you want a soft elastic, because it's only shallow water, so you don't want to be spooking them when you strike. And as I've done in the videos with elastics before, short kit with a lighter elastic, you've still got the control because you haven't got so much elastic in your top kit. Generally for mudlining, I'll use 10 to 12 slick. You can land anything on it. I do use, again, if there's a few more stick ups around where you're fishing, or you're generally targeting carp, I will step up to the 12 to 14. And rig wise, I always use 020 power micron for cross. Durable. The main reason for it though is when you're netting a fish, most of your rig is going to be in your landing net because you're only fishing in really shallow water. It's just to avoid wear and tear, to be honest. It is going to rub around your net, so I don't see the point of fishing any lighter, risk breakages. Down to the float, if I'm fishing in sort of 14 inches and under, I use an Elco. Really short floats, exactly what they're designed for. And if I'm fishing in sort of 14 to 20 inches, I just step up to a 0.4 Mojo. It's just a touch longer, just a little bit more stable, but it's exactly the same sort of float. I'll just hold it for the camera if you can't see it. Going down the rig, couldn't be any simpler. There's a bulk of 5 number 8s just above my hook length. Hook length for mudline is 3 inches, and again depends what you're fishing for. I use 0.125 for F1 fishing. You will land carp and stuff on it as well. If I'm fishing somewhere with a bit of everything in, with more of a chance of some carp as well, I do step up to 14.5. And if I was fishing proper carp fishing, I'd probably step up to a long kit for that. There are odd venues where you are fishing solely for carp on snake lakes. I'd use a 14 to 16, the yellow slick for a long kit, and I'd probably use an 018 bottom, to be honest, because you're fishing for proper carp. They're not bothered in the summer. Water's really coloured, and you have got the risk of them running down the far bank. There's usually a few reeds and stuff, so that covers that. Let's say always a 3 inch or generally a 3 inch hook length, because the bulk 3 inches above the hook, for the simple reason you're only fishing in very shallow water. If a fish comes in, and if you're fishing in 14 inches, a big carp comes in, sucks on your pellets, that carp is moving probably 50% of the water column. It's gonna, if you had a light rig, it's gonna blow your rig around everywhere, your bait around everywhere. You're gonna foul up fish. You're not gonna have your bait over your feed. It's just making it hard. When you reset your rig, you lift it straight out, drop it straight back in where you'd marked up for your feed. You're fishing again in seconds instead of 20 seconds setting a rig. It's just a lot quicker. Simple as that, and it's efficient. And you are going to be catching quite a lot of fish on the mudline generally, so it's all about being efficient. If I was fishing in really shallow water, it's the ideal depth you were looking for. In a perfect world, you'd go across and find sort of 12 to 16 inches tight to the bank, lovely and flat, but we're very rarely faced with the ideal situation, but that is what you're looking for. You can catch down to about 20 inches doing this, and then it does change a bit. I will cover that in a minute. And you can catch up to sort of 6 to 8 inches, but again, it's not perfect because the fish do spook out the peg a little bit. If I was fishing in really sort of under 10 inches, I'd actually use a 2 inch hook length, just so the weight is nearer the hook again, just to balance the rig a bit better. Lastly, a couple of number 8 back shot. They're really important with this rig. Again, you're resetting it, you want to be holding it. I'll talk about it in a minute when we go into actual fishing. You need to pick a marker and be exactly over your spot. And the back shot just help you to hold that rig right in place, stop it drifting about. So that is the tackle. On to sort of plumbing the rig up. I'll keep the pole top here. You're plumbing up, like I say, you want to go across, you're aiming to fish right tight to the bank if you can. There might be snags or something, so you can't get right tight in, but ideally you want to spend a bit of time plumbing around. You want a nice light plummet so it's not rolling down the slope, because it will be quite slopey there. Yeah, you want to be tight across. Like I say, you don't want too shallow if you can't help it. Ideally 12 to 16 inches. The fish are going to feed comfortably in there, but it's not too deep that you're going to get lots of liners, because there are going to be a lot of fish patrolling that far bank. Yeah, have a plumb around, find the best bit, pick a marker on the far bank. It's deadly important. Line up with something where that depth is, because the bank could be going like this, it could be coming away from you. So if you have your rig, you want to plumb up to the bottom of your float, like I always do generally, just so your hook bait's touching. You need to be on the right spot, because if your hook bait is here and you move back an inch, your hook bait's off bottom. You go forward a couple of inches, it's not on the bottom, you've got too much line on, you're going to get liners. Go slightly to the right, could be sloping away like that. It is about being really accurate. So line yourself up with a far bank marker, line yourself up on your pole, get some tape. Some tape is really important, so you know you're on exactly the right spot. Don't use Tipex or something, because you won't feel it when you're shipping out. You'll be looking down for it and you're being less efficient. Wrap some tape round and you'll feel the tape come to your hand, stop, and that's where you start the process. On to feeding, and to be honest, baits, it depends what bait works at your venue. There's loads of different baits you could fish the mudline with. If I was limited to a couple, it would be micros and expanders. That fish always eat pellets. You're always going to catch on pellets. And my other would be dead maggots and ground bait. They would be the two I would always take with me, because I'd always be confident of catching a few fish on those. You're not ever going to be fishing with the wrong bait as such. Worms and casters and like worm slop do work really, really well in some peat, but they're either having it or they're not. Again, meat can be really good. Riddled meat with a little bit of ground bait in it, Cuban meat on the hook. That's really good. It can be really good when you're fishing for more carp areas. I've caught a lot of fish on more carp orientated waters on it, and I would it's just feeding a bit of hemp and some riddled meat. You have to play around with a mixture of hemp to meat. When you're getting lots of liners cutting back on the meat, putting more hemp in to keep it on the bottom. When there's not so many fish there, feeding more meat to sort of draw them back in. But I'll base this on fishing, as I said, pellets and ground bait and maggots. I'll talk as though it's one of my. I'll talk as though I'm fishing at. We can't get on the bank, so we'll do a virtual sort of match. We'll talk as though we're going to start at. Again, I'll use Rookery Waters. It's my local Snake Lakes. Raven Lake is the newer lake there. It's still a few years old now. Lots of F1s, lots of carp. And I would always start with a medium toss pot. You want it right at, again, as close to the end of your pole as you can get for the accuracy. You want just your 2 mils. If you can use any pellets you're allowed, you want some scretins really. Just the way they go soft, they come out your pole a lot easier. The Coppins ones tend to stick a little bit, which is not what you want, as I'll explain in a minute. So I just bait it up with an expander. It can be good to start on a 6 mil to start with. If there's carp in the venue, you do often catch an early carp on a bit bigger one. So I bait it up, say a 6 mil to start with. Fill my pot up, just push it in, fill a medium toss pot, no lid on, just tightly tap them in, ship out, get to your marker, tap your bait in from just above the surface. You want to make a bit of noise early on just to draw some fish in. Then you want to set your rig. Don't set your rig first, tap your bait, then lower your rig right in over the spot, hold it tight. You should get bites pretty quick because it is where the fish are going to congregate early on. And I'd always, like I say, in this virtual situation, I'd always start on a 6 mil, try and get a few fish. Once I'm starting getting bites, on there after a couple of early carp, it's generally F1, so I would swap to a 4.5 mil, the spotted fin expander I use. Once there's fish in your peg, you want to be putting, this is the surface of the water, you want to put your pole top just under the water, let the pellets set out. Don't go tapping them around because you're making lots of noise, which is going to bring fish off bottom, and you'll get liners again. You've got to sneak it in. If you stop getting bites, then again, just from a little bit of a height to draw some fish back in. But it's all about putting the bait in correctly. If you keep dropping it in from a height, the fish are going to look upwards, come up a little bit, and you're going to start tail hooking them. In a match situation, like say at Raven, we'll pretend we are, after a couple of hours, you've caught a load of F1s generally. It's a mixed venue, like I say, lots of carp as well. I would change then, once it starts to fizzle out, I would change to ground bait, and I'd change to maggots on the hook, 3 dead maggots on the hook, start fishing for carp. You'll still catch F1s as well. And what generally happens there is the middle of the match, it'll be a little bit quieter. You just keep putting a bit of ground bait in, gets you then a few extra bites from the F1s, and you will start to catch a few carp. And as the day goes on, there'll be more and more carp start to feed. I'll change to the larger toss pot, and by the end of the match, I'd probably have it with a couple of the extenders on, feeding almost like you would in the margins. Lots of bait, trying to keep the carp there. Again, sneaking it in, and it's as simple as that, to be honest. In that situation where I am fishing for carp as well, I would have a separate top kit set up, exactly the same rig, but just with a 12 to 14 slick, and I'd step up to sort of an 14.5 bottom. Just a bit more power. there's a 16 hook on this. It'd probably have a 14 on that, so I could have a big bunch of maggots for later on. You're just doing what you would do down the edge, but across. And in that, let's say I've fished matches there and I've just fished across all day. It is where the fish want to be. There I do try and find the same depth in the edge, just in case it's fishing really well and the carp come down the edge really well last couple of hours. I can just change from fishing that rig across to down the edge. And that is basically it. Now, as I touched on earlier, we can go across and we might have a better rig there, and we might not be able to get into shallow water. So the question is, what do you do then? There's a couple of different options. Firstly, sort of you could fish hard pellets on the bottom, in like 2.5 foot, 3 foot. I've made this mistake when I first got back into fishing of trying to fish a mudline across when it's too deep, as I've just shown. It doesn't work. You get loads of foul hookers. The depth's just not right. The fish don't want to feed on the bottom in that depth. So I would set up just a 4x12, a Rube carbon. Again, same terminal tackle, just with spread number 11s down my rig. I'd feed it slightly different. I'd have a little pot on the end. A little tip is dip that in the water before you fill it. So yeah, I'd be fishing hard pellets. So hard pellets stick to the water, just helps you ship out better. And it would just be exactly the same, but you'd just be rattling in a few hard pellets. Again, once there's some fish there, holding your pot on the water and letting them come out, so you're not making noise to drag them up. That can be really effective, especially when you're fishing for more carp. The other method you can do across, which can be deadly, I've caught a lot of fish with it, is fishing shallow, tight into reeds and stuff if you can't get into shallow water across. And for that I'd set up just a couple of rigs, both the MTT dibbers, same line again. What you will find is if you're fishing across and you've got cover like that and it's a bit deeper, the fish will come really shallow because they've got the cover and they're a long distance away from you. So I just set 2 rigs up, 12 inches and 8 inches, short line. I don't use the midgets for this because you're pushing it into the cover. You can push it right in. Fish casters or maggots, just pinging. I prefer casters in the summer if I can. Just pinging casters across. You want to try and get them to actually stick into the reeds. You'll see the fish slurping. You can catch really shallow, like even 6 inches deep, pushing your rig against the reeds. And it can be great, not just for F1s, for big carp as well. I've got a lot of carp doing it. It's just a natural place for them to, especially if it's really hot, that can be really good where they just sit in the reeds. It all depends what sort of peg you draw. If you've got a mud bank, obviously that is the ideal way to do it, but we can't govern, we're not, if we're in a match, we're not pleasure fishing, we can't choose the peg to suit what we've got to do. It's still doing the method to suit your peg. So that is the ways around it, a couple of different methods I'd do if I couldn't get into a mudline. I hope that helps. Any other methods or tactics, anything you want covering, just let me know and I'll get a video done for you. Thanks very much for watching.